Welcome back to the Honeycomb Hideout. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Abaga KFJ, best-selling author, BJ&G classic vocalist, radio host, and storyteller. You're in a place where music, stories, books, community, and local adventures come together. Find the room that's right for you. I am so glad that you are here. Yes, I'm so glad you're here. And in today's episode it's a personal reflection for me. I want to talk about something we all experience, but sometimes forget to honor: the different seasons of our lives. Because every season teaches us something. Some seasons are about planting seeds. Some are about surviving storms. Some are about blooming. And some seasons are about finally allowing ourselves to rest and receive. And I just want to say to you, before we go any further, make sure if you're listening in on Spotify or on Apple Music, then make sure that you subscribe and by all means give me 5 stars and leave a review. We can do it. So, when I look back over my own journey, I realize I have lived many seasons. And when I say many seasons, I mean many seasons. And actually, that's why I have so much to talk about. And each one shaped my voice, my heart, and the reason I am, and the person that I am becoming. And I say the person that I am becoming because we are always evolving. So we are constantly changing. And, I'm the daughter who showed up for her parents, being the caregiver to my mom, who was a survivor of ovarian and breast cancer. And I was a caregiver to my father, being his caregiver, and he was a survivor of prostate cancer. And then I lost him to Alzheimer's and dementia. This was one of the deepest seasons of my life, being a daughter, being an only child even. And that doesn't say that just because you have an only child and no other siblings to help you, that doesn't mean that you would be, it doesn't mean that obviously just because you had a child that they would even be there for you. It's not a guarantee. And also to say that I think that we should always be cognizant as well of how we judge others and how they treat their parents, because we don't know their story. And not everyone was blessed with good parents. I mean, that's just the truth. And so in my case, as an only child, I loved my parents and I wanted to be there for them the best way that I know how. And so, our parents give us roots before we ever know how important those roots will become. And those roots, let me make it very clear, those roots can be good roots or they can be bad roots as well, okay? And so sometimes, love is not a grand gesture. Sometimes love is simply being there. And even if you have discord or not a really, really good relationship with your parents, you may still love your parents and you want to be there for them. And that is a gesture of showing a form of love. So, I'm the artist who kept creating. And there was never a season where the artist inside of me disappeared. And I said that to say because also in the interim of taking care of my parents on those occasions, with my father, for instance, with prostate cancer, I was only gone for a month from my work. And with my mother, on the other hand, with her cancer, with her with her ovarian cancer, I was away from my work for 6 years. I stopped singing for 6 years. I left Italy for 6 years to take care of my mother. And when she had her diagnosed with the breast cancer, I stepped away for 1 month, which I was very fortunate, and she was too, because at the end of the day, with her breast cancer, it turned out that she only had to take a prescription afterwards and not do chemo or radiation. Thank the Lord. And so, the songs, the stories, the ideas, they continued to flow, because creativity is not just what I do. It is part of who I am. I'm always creating. My mind, it seems like my brain never shuts off. I'm just a creative. I've been a creative since I was a child. And that's just who I am as a person. I love being creative. And, an artist doesn't stop creating because life gets complicated. No, as a matter of fact, sometimes life itself becomes the inspiration. And, thank God for showing me that He was there through every step, and that I had to go through all of the things that I went through to get me to where I am today, right now, this very moment. I want to say thank you for being here to listen to Habaka's Honeycomb Hideout. And this podcast is presented to you through rss.com. So if you want to do your own podcast, you can look into it. Just go to rss.com. And so back to the story. Now, the vocalist who carried a legacy, that's me. My voice carries more than my own story. And it carries the love of my family, the musicians who came before me, the lessons passed down through generations, and the responsibility of honoring that legacy. And, it's really funny because when I was growing up, I was into music. I loved it. I wrote out all of the songs for my mother because she was a vocalist, a jazz vocalist. But I never really was, that concentrated that, this is my family lineage and I need to preserve it. It just really never crossed my mind in that way until I started singing as a professional vocalist. And so now, of course, every time I sing, I am reminded that a voice is not just sound. A voice is history. A voice is emotion. A voice is a bridge between generations. A voice is frequencies that are extremely important to who's receiving them. The author who found another way to share her voice. For many years, I believed my voice lived only through music or teaching. But writing showed me another doorway. And through stories, reflections, and words, I discovered that my voice could reach people in a different way. And sometimes the message needs a melody. Sometimes the message needs a page. The broadcaster in me who built a community and creating Habakkuk's Beehive radio show and Habakkuk's Honeycomb Hideout showed me something powerful. And what it showed me is that people don't just connect with content. They connect with connection. Because I love people. I love what I do. I love sharing the gift that I have. And it's in every fiber of my being. Behind every listener is a person with a story, a dream, a struggle, or a hope. And, every time before I go on the stage, before I perform, before I do anything of that, like that, I always ask Spirit to speak through me, because I don't want to be also, speaking through empty words. Building community has become one of the sweetest parts of my journey. The entrepreneur in me who created her own platforms, and that was the only way that I knew how, being self-taught and wearing many different hats. And that's why I know how to do so many different things, because when you are the one putting on all the different caps and taking on all those different roles, those roles that you step into, you have to learn how to maneuver and in those roles and those positions that you are representing. You're listening to Habakkuk's Honeycomb Hideout. And if you are finding this of any good to you, then I want to ask you right now to maybe share this podcast with your friend. Share it with a loved one. Share it on your social media pages. And give me a good review. Back to the story. So, there comes a season when you stop waiting for someone else to open the door. Which, to tell you, by the way, I was never the child that waited for anyone to open the door, because I was never really afraid to take a challenge. As a matter of fact, I grew up taking challenges. I loved taking challenges. And so I was always the child that didn't wait, but started my own way. And knowing that I might fail, I might fall, but I also knew that I would always get back up and try it again. Because it's okay to fail. And I want whoever's listening to this to know that it's okay to make mistakes. And, that's how we learn. You learn from your mistakes, hopefully. And if you don't learn from that mistake, then you keep repeating it over and over and over again until you learn the lesson. But anyway, I learned how to build my own. And creating my own platforms has also allowed me to share my music, my stories, my products, my heart directly with the people who believe in this journey, and also the people who don't believe in this journey. They play a great part too, and I say thank you to all of them as well. And sometimes the dream needs a stage. Sometimes the dream needs a microphone. Sometimes the dream needs a platform you build yourself. Not to say I haven't been given opportunities from others, because I have, and I greatly appreciate those who did open the door for me to give me those opportunities. And the person learning that rest is not a reward you have to earn. And this may be one of the most important lessons of all. Rest is what you must take. You don't have to do anything to deserve rest. You already deserve it. You already are. It's your gift from the universe, from God. And so, for so long, many of us believe we have to accomplish everything before we are allowed to rest. That is not true. Sometimes you will accomplish much, much more when you step back and take the time to rest. Because when you step back and take the time to rest, now you are allowing the space and the room for other opportunities to come in. You're clearing your brain cells. You're thinking clearly. You're not thinking it. You're not having brain fog. You're not exhausted where you make a lot of more mistakes, because when you're exhausted, you make a lot of mistakes, but rest is not something we earn after exhaustion. And I tell you, I have learned this again in real time right now while I'm on vacation doing this podcast. And my vacation allotted me the opportunity to relaunch this podcast and start doing it again after being missing in action for a year. So take heed. Rest is a part of the journey. And I tell you a little secret. I heard an interview from Tina Turner one time, and I really did listen to her on that one. I tell you, I was in Italy at the time touring as a touring artist, and I heard her on the interview, and she said that her biggest secret was the secret to her strong voice was sleep. And when I heard that, I was like, okay. And so the more sleep you can get, the better your voice is going to be, the stronger your voice is. So to all of you vocalists out there, there's another nugget from Tina Turner. Okay, and so even nature has seasons of rest. We have some places have the 4 seasons. Trees do not bloom all year. Fields need time to recover. The earth knows when it is time to pause. And I have learned quite a bit about Mother Nature since I've been growing vegetables and veggies and learning how to grow different plants, and even making my own compost is a miracle in itself when you learn these different things. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. Yes. So I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening to Habakkuk's Honeycomb Hideout. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing, give me a thumbs up, share the podcast, and if you're listening through Spotify or through Apple Music, you can subscribe, leave me a review, and 5 stars. So maybe we should listen to like Mother Nature does. And, as I enter this next season of my life, I am learning to honor every version of myself. The daughter, the artist, the vocalist, the author, the broadcaster, the entrepreneur, the lover of life and intimate relationship, and simply the woman becoming. Every season mattered. Every season left a little honey. Thank you for joining me in Habaka's Honeycomb Hideout. Whether you've been with me since the beginning or you've just discovered this little corner of the world, welcome to the honeycomb. I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so glad that you're a honeybee. If today's episode encouraged you, help the hive grow by sharing it with a friend, leaving a review, and giving it 5 stars. If you're listening through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, those are the platforms where you can leave 5 stars, you can leave a review, and you can subscribe as well. And if you'd like even more stories and reflections, I'd love to welcome you to my Honeycomb Hideout on Substack, where every Monday I share a little something sweet. So until the next time, keep creating, keep believing, and remember, every story leaves a little honey. I love you. Stay real sweet. Bye-bye.